All right, let's get right into it. We're going to talk about the fake rich trap and figure out why a six-figure salary, something that should feel amazing, can somehow leave you feeling like you're barely scraping by.
I mean, this is the big question, right? You're making 100 grand a year. You should feel successful. You should feel secure. But then you look at your bank account and it tells a totally different and frankly kind of terrifying story. It feels like you're just one emergency away from everything falling apart.
And look, if that question hits home for you, I want you to know something right now. You're not alone. Not even close. This is a huge issue. And it doesn't mean you're bad with money. It just means you've been sold a very, very expensive lie that's kind of baked into our culture.
So let's actually put a name to this feeling. We're going to call it the fake rich contradiction. It's that crazy disconnect between having a great salary on paper, but in reality, having almost no actual wealth to show for it.
Okay, get ready for this number. Just let it sink in. 52%. Yeah, that's more than half of all Americans making over 100 grand a year who are living paycheck to paycheck. Think about that. You're in the top tier of earners in the country, but you're feeling the same exact stress as someone working for a minimum wage. How is that even possible?
Well, it's possible because of the lie right here. This is the absolute core of the problem, this belief that income is the same thing as wealth. It's not, and that simple misunderstanding, man, it traps so many people. We think that a bigger paycheck will just magically fix everything, but that's just not how the math works at all.
So how does this actually happen? How do we fall into this trap? Well, we're going to break down 3 specific things that are just eating your wealth alive. And the first one, you see it on the road every single day. Let's call it the pavement princess.
I love this phrasing because it's so true. You didn't just buy a vehicle, you bought a costume. You know the one I'm talking about, that massive $80,000 truck. You feel powerful sitting up high in it. But let's be honest, if the heaviest thing it's ever hauled is a bag of potting soil from Home Depot, you didn't buy a tool. You bought a costume to play the part of a rugged outdoorsman on your way to a desk job.
And the price of that costume? Oh, it's absolutely staggering. See, everyone gets fixated on the loan payment, but that's just the beginning. You have to add in the insane insurance premiums for a truck like that, plus a fuel bill that's just crippling. We're talking what, 15 miles per gallon? All of a sudden, the real cost to own this thing is getting close to $1,700 a month.
Now, let's really put this in perspective. Let's see how this one single choice can be a $100,000 mistake. You take that truck, right? And you compare it to a totally reasonable, reliable sedan. The difference in the real monthly cost is over $1,250. Now, what if you invested that difference every month for the 7 years you have the loan? You'd have about an extra 100 grand building your net worth. Instead, you just have a 7-year-old truck.
Okay, trap number 2 is just as common. And this one's tricky because it's something our parents probably told us was the smart thing to do. It's what I call the housing illusion.
This is probably the single most important rule about homeownership that nobody ever seems to mention. We all hear it, right? Renting is just throwing money away. But here's the thing. Your rent, that's the maximum you're going to pay for housing that month. A mortgage, that's the absolute minimum you're going to pay. That's before property taxes, insurance, a new roof, and, the water heater that decides to give up on a Sunday night.
So here's the critical point. Yeah, you're building equity. That's great. But you can't buy groceries with equity. You can't pay for a sudden medical bill with equity. It's the cash you have in the bank, your liquidity, that gives you actual freedom and options. Your home equity? It's basically wealth that's locked away in a prison made of drywall until the day you decide to sell.
All right, that brings us to our third and final trap. And this one is maybe the most powerful because it's all psychological. It's this hidden cost we all pay just to fit in. It's the social compliance fee.
This really gets to the brutal truth behind that old saying, keeping up with the Joneses. You see your friends on Instagram taking these amazing vacations, or you're out to dinner and they're ordering another round of expensive cocktails, and you just assume they can afford it all. But here's the secret. Statistically, they probably can't. You're not competing with their wealth. You're competing with their debt. It's a race to see who can rack up the most high-interest credit card debt the fastest.
Okay, so that's a lot of bad news. The trucks, the houses, the social pressure, it's a lot. So how do we actually get out of this trap? Well, the solution is all about shifting your focus. I want you to completely forget about your salary. We need to obsess over the one number that really matters.
And that one number is the gap. It's super simple. It's just the space between your income and your expenses. That's it. Think of it like your personal profit margin.
This is the raw material for building wealth. It's the only thing that matters.
I mean, look how simple this formula is, but it is the most powerful concept in all of personal finance. If you make 200 grand a year and you spend 200 grand a year, your DAP is zero. You are building zero wealth. But if you make 50 grand and only spend 40, you have a $10,000 gap. You are the one who's actually on the path to financial freedom.
So, the big question is, how do we consistently make that gap bigger and bigger? Well, there's a strategy for this, and it's simple, it's elegant, and it's unbelievably effective. We call it the invisible raise.
Here's exactly how it works. It's 3 simple steps. The next time you get a raise or a bonus or any kind of extra money, you pretend it never happened. Step 2, your lifestyle does not change one bit. You don't spend a single extra dime. And step 3, you immediately, automatically divert 100% of that new money straight into your investments. You never even see it hit your checking account. You never touch it. And just like that, you've completely avoided lifestyle creep, and that entire raise has become pure wealth-building gap.
When you really boil it all down, everything we've talked about comes down to one fundamental choice. It's a choice you have to make, consciously, about the kind of life you want. Are you going to choose to look rich, or are you going to choose to be rich?
Just look at the difference between these two paths. The look-rich path, yeah, it's filled with expensive cars and big houses, all designed to impress people you probably don't even like. But it also comes with constant, crushing stress and the reality that you'll have to work until you're 75. Now, the be-rich path, that's about financial security. It's about sleeping well at night. It's about having the option to quit a job you hate. It's about building a life you don't constantly feel the need to escape from. And that really brings us to the final, most important point. If you take one thing away from this, let it be this. You can look wealthy or you can be wealthy. But for 99% of us, you cannot be both. You have to pick one. Because the money and the energy you spend trying to look wealthy are the exact same resources you need to actually become wealthy.
So, I'm going to leave you with one final question to think about. Forget about your neighbors. Forget about your friends on social media. The only person you truly need to impress is your future self. The you that's going to exist 10, 20, even 30 years from now. What are they going to think of the choices you're making today? Are you setting that person up for a life of freedom or a life of regret?